Hey Asus, how you doing there, buddy? Oh, I'm doing well, MSI. Just gaming on my Ally. How are you? Oh yeah, I'm doing fine. But have you heard from Valve? No, I haven't. Steam Deck? More of like losing deck, am I right? Funny guy. Thank you. But you know, that's a lovely ROG Ally you have there. Would be a shame if I made a better one. Make a better one? What? This is the MSI Claw gaming handheld with a bigger battery, better ergonomics, Intel Core Ultra processor. How does it stack up against the Asus ROG Ally? Let's find out in this video. Hi, I'm Captain Awesome and this is Geekception. I would appreciate if you hit that like button and subscribe if you like what I do here. Also, we have memberships available, so do consider that to support me. Starting with the specification, and the MSI Claw has a very similar spec sheet to the Asus ROG Ally, except for the processor, Intel instead of AMD, battery, and a few other aspects that I'll be going into in this video. First, let's start with the design. You know that meme, copy my assignment but change it a little bit? Well, that is how I feel when I think about the Claw compared to the ROG Ally right here. I personally like the white on the Ally here, but I can see the appeal of a black, especially a matte black, in the design of the MSI Claw. But there are many things that they have in common, such as they both have that RGB around the thumbsticks, the D-pad, the face button, heck, even the menu buttons and placement is near identical. The M1 and M2 back buttons are literally in the same position, except on the Claw it is a bit shorter from what I can see so far. Okay, granted, on the Claw you get that Hall effect left and right thumbsticks, which are pretty nice, especially for long-term use. But again, just like on the Ally, you get the L and R bumper here, which also have that Hall effect sensor. The speakers on the Claw are also front-facing, just like on the Ally, but they are horizontal compared to the vertical speakers here on the Ally. If it's anything like the speakers here on the Ally, I'm rest assured that the quality is going to be very nice. It is also slightly heavier than the Ally, though I don't think you'll notice it much in hand. Now, because of how similar the Claw is to the Ally, at least from my own judgment, it also inherits one of the flaws, or at least the biggest flaws here on the ROG Ally, which is that number one, the USB is at the top. So you can see every single time I play on the Ally here, it's always so annoying. I'm always worried that I'm going to yank it off and I'm going to break the port. And the second thing is that I wish there were two USB ports. So there's one at the top there, and then maybe a second one like the Legion Go at the bottom, so you can be able to maybe charge from the bottom and use accessories at the top. I think that would have been great, but just like the Ally, we only get one on the Claw, and it's not in my favorite position at all. And just like you get here on the Ally, on the Claw you also get like massive vents at the top there, and I think it might actually be a bit bigger on the Claw compared to the Ally. And while the Ally here has intake vents at the back here, the ones on the Claw are massive, which I have no doubt will help with air intake. And echoing off this tweet by Retro Handhelds of just how much air does the MSI Claw need? Like, again, we've not seen this processor before in a handheld, so we do not know what the thermal performance is going to be. But either way, I think, you know, just having that much vents should help. You know, I don't think it would hurt the MSI Claw. And one place that I think the MSI Claw is actually very different to the ROG Ally is in the ergonomics, specifically the grip. On the MSI Claw, there is a deeper curve to the groove there, and I think it should definitely help with holding this for long periods of time. And the Ally here is closer to a Switch than, let's say, a Steam Deck when it comes to ergonomics and hand feel. And from all the hands-on video I've watched so far, it should be better, though I will test it out when I eventually get a chance to hold it myself. Next, let's talk about display. Now on the Ally here, you have 7-inch 1080p display, 120Hz with variable refresh rate. And it is actually very similar on the MSI Claw as well. You get 7 inches, you get 1080p, you get 120Hz. But the asterisk here is I've found different information online, with some people saying it has variable refresh rate and some people saying it does not have variable refresh rate. I really do hope it has variable refresh rate, as that has been a killer feature here on the Ally, and even the Legion Go, for its bigger display, higher resolution and all of that, just because it lacks that variable refresh rate is one of the reasons why, you know, some games do not perform as well as they could. So I really do hope the MSI Claw has a variable refresh rate. Okay, let's talk about battery and performance. And from this article I read from the Verge, the MSI Claw has several power modes. It has a default 24 to 27 watts TDP mode. It also has a super saver mode at 15 watts, while at the top end you get 35 watt on battery or 40 watt while it is plugged in. And this is already very different to the Ally, because, you know, on the Ally you have a 10 watt silent mode, you have a 15 watt performance mode, and when you're on battery you get 25 watts for turbo mode or 30 watts when you are plugged in like I am right now. And because the Claw does have a bigger battery, I think it's 53 watts watts compared to 40 watts here on the Ally. I think it is also why it is able to pull more power from both the power brick and the battery in case you need it. And according to this Engadget article, MSI claims that there's a 20 to 25 watt performance increase compared to AMD handhelds like the Ally right here. So it will be definitely interesting to see that in real life, in gaming performance and all of that, just how much we're going to be getting of a performance leap over the ROG Ally and other Z1/Z1 Extreme processors from AMD. Next, let's talk software. And here on the Ally, we have Armory Crate, which is a software you can use to manage everything on your Ally, from your operating mode to all your settings, updates, and even like stuff like gyro controls and all of that. And the MSI Claw has something similar, and in fact maybe it's too similar, because from what I've seen from several hands-on videos, it looks scarily similar to Armory Crate. I mean, look at this gyro control page here on the Ally and look at it on the MSI software. And something I noticed is that here on the Ally, the button for Armory Crate is on the right and the button for your command center is on the left, but on the MSI Claw it's actually inverted. And another feature that you also have on the MSI Claw, just like you have here on Armory Crate, is the ability to change your own fan curves, so you can control just how fast it ramps up. You can control your power mode. And while something like Game Monitor was not working on the CES floor from all the hands-on videos that I watched, I imagine they would have fixed that when it comes to production hardware. And something I found interesting in all the videos I've been watching so far about the MSI Claw is the AI powered mode, where the AI can automatically adjust the modes for you, so you don't need to actually select a mode here, like for example performance or whatever. There's an AI thing that works because of the AI chip in the Intel Core Ultra processors. I think that would be very interesting to try out and see how that actually works in real life and not just, let's say, on a hands-on floor. Now, since we're already talking about Intel, let me talk about some other features here. Now, so because the MSI Claw uses an Intel processor, unlike the AMD here on the Ally, you can actually use Thunderbolt, because the USB here is Thunderbolt 4. So you can use Thunderbolt accessories and get faster speed, but that's not even what I'm excited about. What I'm excited about is that unlike the Ally here, where you need to use this XG mobile whatever, I mean, do you have an XG mobile dock? Like, do you how it's so expensive? Like, who buys it? If you've bought one, please leave a comment, because I just cannot understand who that is made for. It's so expensive. But if you have the Claw, you don't even need to, like, let's say buy like an expensive proprietary, again, a thing from Asus or whatever manufacturer. You can just plug it an external card in an enclosure or whatever into your MSI Claw and get big performance. And the only thing you'll be limited by is just your CPU, which I think for the next year should be good enough. And I don't understand why Asus did this with the Ally, because a device like the Legion Go, which is also a AMD Z1 Extreme powered device, still allows you to be able to use the external dock and external graphics card over USB 3.2 Gen 2, I think, which is present on the Ally here. But I just don't understand why Asus locked that, and I think that would be a really, really big value add if you're getting the MSI Claw or thinking about it. Yo dog, I heard you like RGB, so here's your RGB for your RGB. Because why, MSI? Tell me, why are there RGB buttons for your ABX5 face buttons right here? Like, it just, I am not going to say no to more RGB lights, but it's just very interesting that they put that in their, MSI Claw device there, and it's like a value add for some reason. Okay, let's talk price. And I have pulled up all the prices here for all the devices and all the options right now, right? So basically, you get three price options with the MSI Claw. $699 gets you an Intel Core Ultra 5 with 16 gigs RAM and 512 gig SSD. Now, if you move on to $750, you get a Intel Core Ultra 7 with 16 gigabytes of RAM still and 512 gigs. And unlike the Ally, there is a higher tier. So if you upgrade for $50 more at $800, it gets you still the same Intel Core Ultra 7 with 16 gigabytes of RAM, this time with 1 terabyte of storage. Now, the Ally right here starts at $599 for a base Z1 model, which I do not recommend. Do not buy that. It does not exist. We don't talk about it. But if you just spend a little bit more at $699, so $100 more, you get the Z1 Extreme model of the Ally here with 16 gigabytes of RAM, a 512 gigs of storage, which is the device that I have here right now. And if you're wondering about the Legion Go starts at $699 with the Z1 Extreme chip, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigs of storage, and if you add on $50 more, it gets you a version with more storage. Now, if you're picking up the base Claw model here of the MSI, it is definitely more expensive than the Asus ROG Ally, because don't forget, the base model of the Claw is a lower tier processor. It's a, Intel Core Ultra 5, not a 7. And also because, the Ally here and also the Legion Go, for example, will have so many discounts, whether it's on Best Buy here in Malaysia, whether it's on Shopee, whether it's on Carousel, secondhand, or wherever it is you are in the world, eBay. So you can definitely get these devices for cheaper, open box as well. And, you might get an even better deal as opposed to the MSI Claw, which is still pretty new. So I would not expect that the prices will drop very, very quickly. So you might, have to spend a bit more to get the Claw. But I'm definitely very excited for all the options we now have. Apart from the Steam Deck, we have the ROG Ally here, we have the Legion Go, we have the MSI Claw, which is the new player that has entered the game. And, as a consumer, as a YouTuber, as a content creator, I'm definitely always excited when we as the customers in general get more options rather than less, and which means that, more things are coming. We've not seen how the Intel Core Ultra processors are going to perform in handheld mode, because that's the first handheld device from, both MSI and Intel. But it's very exciting to see just, how much, let's say AMD, for example, is going to respond to Intel with, their new maybe Z2 or Z2 Extreme or whatever is in the pipelines there. And, I'm just excited for 2024. And I said this Ally here is my favorite gaming handheld or gaming device of 2023. I cannot wait to see what my favorite gaming device of 2024 is going to be like. And these are exciting times, best friends. These are exciting times. Now, to quickly wrap up this video, who is the MSI Claw For? Well, if you don't have any handheld at this stage, you don't have an Ally, you don't have a Legion Go, you don't have a Steam Deck, then you should probably consider that, because, you might just have to spend money once to be able to get the device you actually like. And, for some people, maybe it's just the white here of the Ally that is a deal breaker. They like black devices. I'm all for black, so you can go for the MSI Claw. But, if you, let's say like me, you have the Ally or you have the Steam Deck, whatever model of the Steam Deck, or you even have a Legion Go, and maybe there are some things that you don't like about that particular device you own. For example, the Ally, maybe you don't like it in black, you don't like the ergonomics and all of those things, then maybe, just maybe the Claw might be the device for you. Maybe you can take advantage of some, trading policies and all of that. But no matter what camp you are in, I would say hold off first. Let us see how it actually performs in games, in your favorite games and all of that, and, all of those content. And I have, I'm not in America, so I could not go to CES, at least not yet. But I've already messaged my friends over at MSI to try to see if I can get a MSI Claw when it launches here locally in Malaysia. That would be fantastic. I would love for that to happen, so I can bring all of you lovely people all of my thoughts about all the devices at a go. Thank you so much for watching and sticking all the way to the end. I've been Captain Awesome. This is Geekception. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps me out here. Membership options are available so that you can get, some behind the scenes content. I'll follow you on social media. I will do like I'll play games with you and all of those wonderful stuff. So do consider that. And until next time, I have been your Captain of Awesome, and this is Geekception, and I'm from Nigeria with love.